Welcome back to the Will to Thrill Show, and I'm your host, Will Claveter. I'm joined today by Caroline Edwards and Brabenda Alvarez, and today's discussion we'll be talking about who should win the MVP race in the NBA, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, or maybe somebody else. Caroline Edwards, what do you have to say about this?
I love Houston, and I hate to say it, but I really think Westbrook deserves it. He's doing things that players like Jordan and Magic and LeBron, they haven't even come close to the things that he's done this season, so I think that he really deserves it.
I think Caroline has a point. Westbrook has been averaging a triple-double this season, and he's about to break a record with the Oscars Robertson singles season record, and he's made 40 this past Sunday versus Charlotte with his triple-doubles, so one more and he's off to break that record at 42. However, I feel like Harden has really worked up better stats than any other players this season, so I feel like he has a really good chance to kind of average out. It's kind of hard to decide with these two because they both have been doing really well this season. So why else do you think Westbrook should be better?
I would say because Harden has a great offense to back him up. The offense at the Rockets is really efficient. Harden isn't necessarily the only key player that they have, but when you look at OKC, Westbrook is really their main guy. They really depend on him to be successful. So I really think that factors in a lot. Will?
All right, well, thank you for joining me, Caroline and Brabenda. It's been interesting talking to you. This has been Will Claveter. I'll see you next time.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Sports Talk with Austin. I'm your host, Austin Baker, and today I'm here with Kramer Knipp and Kate Wiley, and we're going to be talking about what could be the best week in golf, which is Masters Week. So, Kramer, who do you think is going to take it all this weekend?
I think there's some really great players coming in this weekend. Obviously, Dustin Johnson, he's leading the pack with 5-1 odds. I think he's going to definitely be someone to watch. But, of course, then you have Jordan Spieth, who is right up behind him with 7-1 odds. He's always been a really strong player. So I think we have some pretty good ones to watch.
I'm definitely voting for Spieth after his debacle at the 12th hole last year. I think he's going to come back this year more motivated than ever and definitely has the chance of bringing back another green jacket this year.
I'm going to go with the wild card pick this year. I'm going to say Bubba Watson is going to take it all. He hasn't won it in a couple of years, but he used to be the crowd favorite before Spieth was ever known. And he's missed a couple of cuts this year, but I do think that he has the potential to win it all. Now, some big news is that Tiger Woods dropped out of the tournament last second. Do you think that he's ever going to get to the point where he was back in the day?
I think Tiger's kind of had his day, honestly. I think there's some really awesome new players coming up, some really fresh players with some good game. And so I think Tiger has been a great player, a really great asset to the golf game, but I think he's kind of had his day, and I'm excited to see who else is coming up.
I agree. I think that every time it feels like Tiger's going to make a comeback, he ends up withdrawing, which is really disappointing because he's arguably one of the best players of all time. So it's disappointing that he continues to not make a comeback.
All right, guys. Well, that's all the time we have today. Thank you for joining us. This is Kramer Knipp, Kate Wiley, and I'm Austin Baker.
Welcome back to Sports Talk. I'm Anna Thrash, and today we're going to be talking about how the Jamaican relay team was stripped of their gold medals back from the Beijing 2008 Olympics. I'm sitting here with Will Claveter and Ginny O'Connor. Ginny, what do you think about this?
I don't think that after 9 years they should come back and just take away the medal like that. Usain Bolt was a triple gold medalist and he got that title taken away from him, and I just don't think it's fair. When it's just one of his teammates and there's been instances of a whole team being stripped of their medal for something that one team did, I just don't think that really works.
Yeah, you got to hold your fellow athletes accountable for their actions, but it's 8 years later. Come on, people. You can't strip somebody's medal with that. If you're within a year, yeah, but you can't keep the DNA records around for 1,000 years to test this. You can't do that. Come on now, let's be real here.
See, I have to disagree. I think the relay team, you and your teammates take the fault for each other. If one of you does bad, then the rest of you have to be punished. And I also think the drug that was found in Nesta Carter's system was illegal in 2004. So I think him being found using it in 2008 isn't okay.
Yeah, but this drug, it's been found in nasal spray. Supposedly it does nothing more than what a cup of coffee would do to you, and I really don't think it's something we should hang him up for.
That's like saying you're going to suspend somebody for taking NyQuil at night. Do they really have alcohol in their system because they had NyQuil? Come on now, people. You're talking about potentially the world's greatest Olympic athlete of all time. You're really going to take his medal away because something that happened 8 years ago that he probably had no idea about? Come on, people.
All right, well, thank you guys for joining me. See us again tomorrow, and thanks for watching the show.
Welcome back to the Breezy Show. I'm your host, Brabinda Alvarez, and today we will be talking about where the Razorbacks will end up for the NFL Draft. I'm here with Caroline Edwards and Will Claviter. Caroline, where do you think this is going to take off?
Looking back in the past, where the Razorbacks have ended up, it's kind of hard to tell. They've been in San Diego, to Buffalo, to Jacksonville. So I think it could be really anyone's call.
All right. Well, according to CBSSports.com, the list has 100,000 prospects, and the University of Arkansas has their top 11, but their top 4, we have Dan Skipper and Jeremy Sprinkle. What do you have to say about that?
Well, even though CBS Sports ranks Skipper above Sprinkle, I think they have it completely wrong there. Sprinkle is obviously an NFL-ready player. Skipper still has a lot of kinks to work out. Sprinkle, he's a very good blocker for a tight end, and he's great in the red zone. However, he can't create distance between his coverage, so because of that, he just doesn't catch many passes. Because of that, he'd be great for a team like the Kansas City Chiefs, who are a great run team. However, he can't go to a team like Green Bay. So because of that, I see him going probably 4th to 5th round, probably to a team like Kansas City with a heavy defense and a good run game.
All right. What do you think, Caroline?
I think he makes a lot of good points. Hopefully, all these guys will do their best and represent Arkansas well.
I agree. I definitely agree that they did misrank them. You're right. The other one has a lot more potential. So thank you guys for joining me today. We're going to wrap this up. Have a good day.
Welcome back to the show. My name is Kramer Knipp, and today you're watching Keeping Up with Kramer. Today with me I have Kate Wiley and Austin Baker, and we're going to be discussing the Kansas City Royals. Now this team has faced a lot of upcoming pressure for the 2017 season. They've had to overcome Yordano Ventura's death, and they are also looking at losing 4 of their key players, with Hosmer, Moustakas, Kane, and Escobar all entering their walk years. So what do you guys think we can expect from this team the upcoming season?
Unfortunately, I just don't see the Royals making a comeback in the near future. They've been handed a lot of losses in the last year, and I think that they need some time to recover, recuperate, and move forward.
For Royals fans, I think last year was definitely a disappointing year, coming off definitely, a World Series for the first time in a really long time. But I think for hitters like Hosmer, Salvi, Gordon, and Moustakas, it may be their last season with the team, but I think that this is kind of a redemption year for them, and they will start to shine this year. As well, for the pitching aspect, Dan Duffy, who was with the team for a little bit last year, had 12 wins and 188 strikeouts. In his 42 games that he appeared in. So I do think that although there is some speculation whether or not they are going to do well this season, I think that they may surprise a few folks.
Yeah, I have to say sometimes the Royals really can surprise people and be a bit of a comeback team, but I do agree. I think the pitching staff has a really tall order to kind of have to fill in Ventura and a lot of other players. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how they go. I have to kind of agree with Kate as well. They may just kind of have had their glory days and they may be over. But
they haven't really lost that many players from their World Series winning roster, which I think is key for them. All the players that they do have, Hosmer, Salvi, all of those are hometown names. And, if it's going to be their last season for them, I think that they're going to try and give it all they got. And I think that there is hope for the Royals this season.
yeah, well, thank you guys so much for joining me. I'm Kramer Knipp. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Welcome to the Sports Hour with Jenny. I'm Jenny O'Connor, and today we're going to be talking about concussions in football. I'm joined by Caroline Edwards and Anna Thrash. Caroline, do you think the NFL is actually concerned with the welfare of the players, or do you think that they're just concerned with the lawsuits that are to come from all the concussions that have been happening?
I think that they're finally starting to care about their players. They're finally starting to see the results of what the head injuries are causing in their players. And I think that they're finally starting to take it more seriously because people are starting to realize, yes, these guys are, incredible athletes, but they aren't superhumans. They can still get hurt. Brain injuries are really serious, and anyone is susceptible to them.
I definitely think that the public concern for these players has risen over the years. At first, the NFL, I think, did try to cover up the head trauma that their players were receiving, especially in 1994 when they created the Mild Traumatic Brain Injury Committee, and the doctor at the head of it repeatedly denied links between brain trauma and brain diseases, which we all know is definitely not true today. But with the public becoming more interested in these problems and thinking about their kids who want to grow up and play football, I think that the media and everything is putting more and more pressure on the NFL to do something about it.
Yeah, I know that NFL says that they care and stuff, but right now they've just like put a doctor on the field and the doctor tells them whether they can play or not or whether they actually got a concussion. And I don't really see how a doctor on the field changes the fact that they're still going to get hit and they're still like susceptible to head injuries.
I agree. I think they definitely can do more and they should be doing more. And it also it doesn't start with the NFL. You look at the kids growing up playing football, and a lot of it has to do with the way that they're taught how to tackle and the way that they're taught how to take a hit. And that also should be in effect.
Awesome. Well, thanks for tuning in. I'm Jenny O'Connor. We'll see you next time.
Welcome back to Caroline's Corner. I'm your host, Caroline Edwards. Here with me today, I have Bravinda Alvarez and Will Clavadier. With the NHL regular season coming to a close, Bravinda, who do you think is coming out of the Eastern Conference?
I think this year the Eastern Conference is definitely going to be taken by Washington. Right now they're in the lead with a record of 52, 18, and 8. And then their top player right now is definitely Alexander Ovechkin. And they're leading with a total of 112 points, so that's a big deal. However, they're kind of competing against Pittsburgh. And what do you have to say about that, Will?
See, the idea of Washington ever winning a Stanley Cup is preposterous. See, Pittsburgh is built to win in the postseason. Last year they won the Stanley Cup, and this year they have 23 out of their 28 players returning from that Stanley Cup run. So they are built with experience right now. On top of that, they have potentially the MVP and potentially the best player of all time playing on their first line, Sidney Crosby, who right now is plus 25 with 84 points in only 72 games. Beyond that, they have Sidney Crosby anchoring the first line with the monster Evgeny Malkin anchoring the second line here, who, by the way, has 72 points in 72 games. On top of that, their third line has Phil Kessel, the Hamburglar. When you have 64 points in 60 games, that's a big deal.
You know, I think that the Blue Jackets and the Penguins are neck and neck. I think it could be anyone's call, but personally, I'm going to be pulling for the Penguins. That's all the time that we have for today. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to catch Caroline's Corner next time.
Welcome back to Keeping Up with Kate. I'm Kate Wiley, and today we're going to talk a little bit about the Arkansas Razorback men's basketball team and how the loss of two of their top senior players will affect the team. Joining me is Austin Baker and Kramer Knitt. Austin, how do you think the Razorback season went overall?
Well, they had a fantastic season. I think that Razorback fans, after the first half, were a little unsure as to how their team was going to end up, but they really turned it on in the second half of the season. They won a game in the NCAA tournament and unfortunately had to face UNC, which we all know how they ended up playing out. But I think that Dusty and Moses are two players that really were the heart of this team this season, and I definitely think they will be missed. And next season, I think there will be you will be able to tell that they won't be there.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, I just have to agree. I think that they had a great season, and I think that the players, Moses and Kingsley, I think are definitely going to be missed. But I think that they gave a lot of hope for this upcoming season for next year.
I agree. I think Dusty and Moses both were incredible players, and I think that we can probably look for Moses in the NBA in the next few years. I know there's been a lot of speculation about Dusty, but during his career as a Razorback, Kramer, do you think that he could arguably be one of the better transfers we've seen?
You know, I do think he could have been. He had some great games, and I feel like he really was one of the guys that really loved the team, especially making it into the NCAA tournament this year. I think he was a big driving force behind the Razorbacks making that, and I think he's going to be very well missed.
Austin, do you think that Coach Anderson will be able to replace the fierceness that Moses Kingsley plays with?
I do think he will. I think, at the beginning of the season, the Razorbacks were struggling a bit, and I think that some people were thinking that Mike Anderson may not have his job next season, but I trust in him as a coach. I think that they will find two new players to replace. We still have Macon and we still have Jalen Barford, so I think that there's a lot to look forward to next season.
Thank you, Austin. Thank you, Kramer. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Kate Wiley, and we'll see you next time.
Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Anna Thrash, and we have a great hour coming up for you. But right now, we're switching over to sports, and I'm joined by Austin Baker and Jenny O'Connor. What do you guys think about Tim Tebow joining baseball?
You know, I initially thought, along with a lot of other people, that Tebow trying to pursue a career in baseball was a joke. But after kind of researching it a bit and hearing some of what he had to say about, him kind of transitioning out of football, I really think he is into it. And in an interview, he said that at the end of the day, he knows that baseball is not why he was put on this earth. But he's saying that because he wants him playing baseball to mean something more, and he kind of just wants it to make more of a lasting impact on his life.
You know, I agree with Austin. Like, I give him props for being dedicated and trying hard and doing something that he probably doesn't think that he's made to do. And I think he deserves a chance, and everyone deserves a chance. And if he doesn't make it on an MLB team, that's fine. But at least he gets the chance to try out and see what happens.
I mean, following your dreams is one thing, but while he was playing in the Arizona Fall League, he struck out 20 times, which is kind of bad. So I don't know. I think maybe the MLB is just recruiting him for his fame. I think they might be overlooking a lot of younger people who might have more talent. But I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, he's certainly not good, and it is kind of a good marketing strategy for the MLB, similar to how Johnny Manziel did get drafted by the Padres a couple years ago. Just it's going to kind of help to sell jerseys and kind of bring fans in. He is going to start for the Single A team for the Mets, which is the Columbia Fireflies. So we'll see how he does this season.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not a publicity stunt. Like, that totally is something that is probably prominent, but I give him props for trying.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining me. That's all we have for the show today, and please join us next time.